Hey guys, Jake here with another video for you. I know it's been a while, kind of in the depths of tournament season, so it's been a little crazy. But I did want to get this video out. I finally got around to doing a review of the Axiom Insanity. Currently my most used distance driver, I guess. I've kind of switched up my bag for a while of just took everything faster than a 9-speed out of my bag, so this has been filling in as my distance driver. Just trying to get so that I spend a little bit more time with this range of discs, because I feel like I always just skip over the 9 speeds and go straight to the the 11 or the 13 with the Mayhem or whatever. And these ones just kind of fill up the bag and don't do anything. And in actuality, I can throw these just as far as like the traces and the photons and stuff like that. I just don't have the velocity to make a big difference between the two like speed levels. So it was like, why am I carrying both? Should I just carry the slower disc because they'll be more controllable and still get the same distance? So that's sort of been the experiment. And yeah, so I've been throwing the Insanities a lot lately. And I've been throwing them for probably one of the longest time periods. They're one of the first MVP drivers that I started throwing, and I've thrown and lost a good number of them now. So yeah, I've got a little bit of experience with pretty much all the plastics. But yeah, so the Insanity. The Insanity is a 9-speed, 5-glide, 2-turn, negative 2-turn, and 1.5 fade, according to the numbers. And speed number I'm cool with. 9-speed, yes, obviously it's the same as like the Fireball and the Tesla and all the other 9 speeds. The 5-glide is fine. I find it's not super glidey. I actually found that the Lift is almost identical disc, made by Streamline. Those tend to glide a lot more than these. They also tend to be a little bit more overstable than these. But yeah, I don't know. They just like they glide fine. Okay, so 5 is probably fine. Like they're normal. They're not anything exceptional. The negative 2 turn is the again usually the question mark for me. Is it really depends on which plastic and run you get. This particular Insanity, yeah, negative 2 sounds great. It's a flippy disc. I can do hyzer flip shots with it. I can trust it to turn over, and I would also say the 1.5 fade is also accurate for this disc. And honestly, for pretty much all of the plasma Insanities that I've thrown. But I don't think those numbers are accurate when you start talking about the Cosmic Neutron and older Proton, and I guess I've never thrown any of the Neutron, but just straight Neutron. But those discs are a lot beefier in my opinion. I really find that they don't turn a ton. I've got the ones that I have now. I've thrown them long enough that they do turn if I really smash them. But it's probably like a negative 1. They fly a lot more like a Crave, honestly. Like they have a little bit of turn and then a little bit heftier fade, probably closer to a 2 for those discs. So depending on the plastic type you get, I feel like the numbers that they put out are for the flippier Insanities, and there's definitely a good chance that you'll get something a bit more stable than that. But they're not the worst I've seen. They're more accurate than say the Craves were, I guess. So yeah, that's sort of my thoughts on the numbers. Overall, just a very nice, long, sort of S-curvy distance driver. They actually do remind me a lot of the Craves, of the different kinds of Craves, actually, where they can either be just super dead straight with just a nice light little fade, or they can have just a nice little S-curve, or as you beat them in, just continue to hold a nice long turnover. So there's a lot of variety between them, but the flights are pretty similar. You're not going to get a massive dumping fade off of these. You're probably not going to, I mean, you might be able to beat one of these things in to be a great roller, but none of the ones that I've thrown have well either lasted long enough without going in the water, or gotten used enough to get beat up to the point where I'd be like, oh yeah, this would be a great roller disc. They turn, but they tend to like flex out, so they don't hold that turnover into a roller usually, from what I've seen. So keeping in mind that all of this is based on a power level where I'm hitting like 400 feet of power when I really blast one. And honestly, I can get these guys to about 400 feet if I get a full flight out of them. That's not a ridiculous throw with an insanity for me. I would say more commonly, I'm going to be hitting about 350 feet to 375 feet when I'm throwing one of these guys. It's just a hair longer than I would get from a Crave. But yeah, that's sort of my power range. I think if you just step up into, you know, a more professional level of power where you're hitting 450 plus, you might very well find that these are great roller discs. They're definitely going to be a little bit flippier for you, but they would be very nice for shaping some lines, I think. And if you're a little bit lower power, if you're only, you know, throwing maybe 3 to 350, these might be a little bit hefty for you. They might not turn a whole lot. Probably just more of a straight to fade. They'll probably fly a lot closer to like what a Tesla or a Volt or something would be for a higher powered player. So I mean, there's still a place for them if you need something long and straight that has a good healthy fade at the end. But you're probably not going to get the nice turn out of these things until you hit around that 350 to 400 feet of power is where I feel like you start to really see that come out. The thing that I love about these Insanities, aside from, you know, just flying nicely, is that they come in some of the coolest combos and colors. This is one of the discs, kind of like the Envy. God, what else? The Trace, I guess. So just usually MVP's most popular discs, they tend to release a lot in a lot of different plastics in some of the craziest colors, and because it's Axiom, you get the funky rims, and yeah, they just tend to have a lot of different runs of these in special editions and things like that. So you can find all kinds of cool Insanities if you want to throw something that looks really neat. It's hard to beat the Insanity. There's really not a whole lot else that I have to say about the Insanity. I really am just using it for my max distance drives primarily. I'll throw the Cosmic Neutron ones. I'll grab one of those here. I throw these Cosmic Neutron ones most of the time because they're more overstable, and so they'll give me a nice gentle little turn and a nice fade and kind of end more or less straight with the most distance. And then I will throw my plasma if I want to do a long turnover. So this disc I can trust to, if I really power up on it, it's going to go straight maybe 150 feet, and then it'll just start turning, and it'll hold that turn pretty much all the way to the ground before it sort of flattens out. So it really, I sort of bag one of each, the flippy and the straight one, and I just sort of use them for anything that's probably 350 feet plus that I just don't feel comfortable throwing a Crave or something with. So yeah, like I said, lately they've been getting a ton of work, but I kind of stopped throwing them for a while when I was throwing the Photons and the Traces and things, just because it didn't seem like I needed both. That just wasn't a different enough distance between them. So if you're finding that maybe you don't have as much power like I do, if you find that 400 feet's your max, it might be worth stepping back to these 9 speeds and checking them out. Maybe setting aside some of those faster drivers for a while and just seeing what you can do with these things, because they are a bit more controllable. They do have a lot less skip on the finish and things like that. So yeah, I highly recommend, if you're in the market for a sort of slower distance driver, the Insanity is a great option. And yeah, if any of you are big Insanity throwers, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear how they've changed over time. I have noticed that the newer Proton ones are a little bit flippier, and the older ones are a lot more overstable. So I'm curious if they're getting flippier and flippier over time, or if I just have some sort of anomalies. And yeah, that's about all I've got for this video. I do have another video coming out here soon on the Pilot, and I'd like to do some more stuff soon. I'd love to do one on the Hex, but I want to give it some time to make sure that I have a good feel for the disc, make sure it's not just a hype video on initial impressions. So I'll probably wait a month or two, get some time in with that before I really decide to review it. But yeah, hopefully as the touring, yeah, I'm touring, not happening. The tournament season kind of winds down for me here. Hopefully I'll start to do a little bit more with these videos. I'm thinking maybe next year I'll probably do a bit less of the tournament scene and do a little bit more of the casual stuff and maybe producing some more content. So I don't know, we'll see what happens with that. But I guess until then, we'll catch you guys later. See you in the next one.